Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to our live webinar today, which is called Is the Doman Method Right for Your Family? So in this webinar, we're going to be answering many of the most common questions that we get from parents of children with special needs around the world about Doman International and the Doman Method. And so I hope that by the end of this presentation, you'll have an answer to all of your major questions about what the Doman Method is. Now, before I pull up my presentation, I'd love to just start with a story. I can see people joining, which is great. Hi, Charmaine. For everyone who's joining right now, maybe just write in the comments box that you're here. This is the first time I've actually used this streaming platform for a webinar, so hopefully everyone's able to watch and enjoy it today. So let me start with a story that we've heard in different forms from parents all around the world. It goes like this. So a mom walks into a doctor's office and she's holding a 6-month-old baby. And she says to the doctor, "Doctor, I think there's something wrong. My child isn't developing like the other kids. And I can see, he's not making eye contact. He's not moving like other children. There's something wrong." And the doctor, says to her something like, every child develops differently. Don't worry about it. Bring him back in 6 months. So the mom comes back 6 months later. Now she's more worried. And she says, "Doctor, now I know there's something wrong with my baby. He's not developing like the other children." And the doctor says something like, "Oh, all mothers think that, don't worry about it." By the way, when he says all mothers think that, he doesn't mean it as a compliment. He's saying, moms just worry for no reason at all. It's a bunch of nonsense. Don't worry about it. And so mom goes home now and she's really concerned. 6 months later, she goes back to the doctor and now she's really a different person. And she says, "Doctor, now I know that there's something wrong with my kid. I can see he's clearly delayed in his development. And if you're not going to figure out what's going on with him, I'm going to find a doctor who can." And that's the day that the doctor diagnoses the child. That's the day the doctor says, all right, yeah, your child has autism, or your child has developmental delay, or cerebral palsy, or the host of different diagnoses that are given to children with special needs and developmental delays. Now, the mom has been telling the doctor that for over a year now, and it's taken her a year to convince him. And when she leaves the office, hopefully she's learned two important lessons. The first lesson is that the person that she thought was the expert in her child's development clearly doesn't have answers for the child's issues. And the second thing is, she's learned that she's going to have to be the one who goes out and discovers answers for her child. And hopefully also she's learned the lesson that her intuition was right. At Doman International, we've seen thousands of children. Our team has seen, children for decades with special needs. And every family that comes to our clinic, we ask them the same question. We ask them, who was the first person who knew your child had a problem? That your child wasn't developing like other children. In 80% of cases, it's mom. Mom is the most common answer, not pediatrician, not nurse. It's mom. And that's because the vast majority of the time, mom's intuition is spot on. And for many of you, you've experienced that story that I just told. We've heard it from thousands of parents. And for many of you, it's led you to this webinar today because you're searching for answers for your child. And I hope you leave this webinar with many more answers than the questions you arrived with. So now I'm going to go to a PowerPoint presentation. Now, as you're joining me, right now we've got people in this webinar. We've got parents who are watching this on different social media platforms. As I go through it, feel free to type your questions into the comments box. At the end of the presentation, I will get to questions. I also have my colleague, Colleen Hudson, here with me. Colleen is our representative, our top representative, who speaks to parents for the first time when they inquire about Doman International. And so Colleen will be here to take questions as well. All right, give me one moment while I pull up my presentation. Perfect. So, as I said, this presentation is called "Is the Doman Method Right for My Family?" And my name is Spencer Doman. I'm the director of Doman International. And so, in this presentation, I'm going to answer 6 common questions that we get about the Doman Method. The first is, which children and diagnoses can be helped by Doman International? The second is, what kind of activities are included in the Doman Method? A lot of parents want to know what kind of activities and treatments are included. Third, what are the results? What happens to kids when they begin the Doman Method? Fourth, what makes Doman International unique and different from other organizations and therapies out there? Fifth, is the Doman Method right for your family? Is it right for your family? And we're asking the question not just for your child, is it right for your child, but also is it right for your family? And then last but not least, what is our recommended path for your family? So these are the 6 questions I'm going to try to answer for you today. So let's start with the first question. Most common question we get: what children and diagnoses are helped by the Doman Method? Can you help my kid? Perfectly good question for a parent to ask. So here you can see the most common diagnoses that we see at Doman International. These aren't the only diagnoses that we help. In fact, we have counted well over 300 different diagnoses of children with special needs and developmental delays that we have helped with the Doman Method. But these are the most common, right? Probably 90% of the children that we see have at least one of these diagnoses or multiple ones. So we've got autism, cerebral palsy, ADD, ADHD, learning difficulties, dyslexia. We could also throw, dysgraphia in there, dyscalculia, common diagnoses given to children with learning challenges, epilepsy, children who have seizures, developmental delay, brain injury or traumatic brain injury, cortical blindness or cortical visual impairment, children who have serious visual problems because of brain injury, speech delay, one of the most common diagnoses we see, trisomy 21, better known as Down syndrome, and hundreds of different genetic disorders. Children with genetic diagnoses can absolutely be helped by the Doman Method, and I'll be explaining why today. And as I said, hundreds of other diagnoses. The reason why we can help all of these different kinds of children, and by the way, these children have very different kinds of symptoms. The reason why we can help all of them is because all of these children, the root cause problem, the root cause is in their brain. The brain is the command center of the body. Everything that we do every day is possible because of our brain function. And so when our brain development is impacted, when a child's brain development is impacted, it can result in all kinds of symptoms, in holding their speech development back, or stopping them from being mobile, or impacting their behavior, making them more hyperactive, or more irritable, or more impulsive, right? Some children have significant comprehension issues or learning difficulties. Some children have, frequent seizures. All of these are symptoms of a neurodevelopmental problem. Neuro meaning the brain, developmental meaning development. So the brain isn't developing normally. And so the Doman Method was created by my grandfather, Glenn Doman, starting in the 1950s, to focus on brain development. And that is why the Doman Method gets results, because we're focusing on the root cause problem. You cannot focus on symptoms and make the problem go away. I'll say it again. You can't focus on symptoms, treat symptoms, and make the problem go away. To fix a problem, you have to focus on the root cause. And when you focus on the root cause, the symptoms go away. Let me give you a quick example of this. So imagine if I went to a doctor and I said, "Doctor, I'm I'm having some trouble. I'm having the worst chest pain I've ever had, and I can't feel my left arm. It's completely numb, and I'm just feeling so nauseous and unwell." A good doctor would hear those symptoms and understand the root cause of those symptoms is a heart attack. I just named three of the most common symptoms of a heart attack. And a good doctor would say, "You're having a heart attack. We need to treat your heart, which is the root cause. That'll make the symptoms go away." A bad doctor would say, "Oh, your chest hurts. Here's a pain relief medication for your chest, and oh, you don't feel your left arm. Let me massage your arm so you can feel it again. And oh, you're feeling nauseous. Here's some anti-nausea medication." Right? If a doctor did that, that would be considered malpractice, and sadly, the patient would probably die because they're having their symptoms treated rather than the root cause problem. Well, unfortunately, the equivalent of that happens every day with children with special needs. Doctor looks at them, therapist looks at them and says, "Okay, you need speech therapy for your speech problem. You need physical therapy for your physical issues. You need occupational therapy for independence." These are symptom-focused approaches. And if you try to treat the symptoms, the root cause problem won't go away. You have to treat the root cause problem, which is in the brain. And when brain development and function improves, the symptoms start to disappear. And that's what the Doman method has been focused on now for 70 years. What are holistic activities and treatments that can be done at home that help drive brain development? And when we do that, children can achieve all kinds of things that parents may have thought were impossible. Well, that leads us to the next question. What kinds of treatments and activities are included in the Doman method? What does the Doman method look like? I mean, many times when parents arrive, they may have heard of one part of, one of the programs in the Doman method, maybe our reading program or our nutrition program or our physical program, but they don't have a full picture. Well, I think that this graphic gives as good a picture as could possibly be given. The Doman method actually, the last time we sat down and counted, had over 400 different treatments and techniques that we have learned and taught to families over the last 7 years, right? 7 decades is a lot of time. You learn a lot of good tricks, over 70 years. And so we have a lot of tools that we can use with children. And that's important when we're dealing with children with all kinds of different symptoms. But what I can say, those 400 different treatments, of course, I couldn't within an hour today tell you about all of them. They do actually fall into 6 categories. And so I really want to tell you today about the 6 different components of the Doman method, which are shown in this graphic. So in the middle, you can see it says Doman method, and around the Doman method are the 6 components. And I'll just quickly explain what these 6 components are for you. So let's start at the top. You can see it says nutrition and supplementation. Nutrition and supplementation is one of the most important parts of the Doman method, meaning diet, right? Looking at what a child eats, and supplementation, meaning necessary vitamins, minerals that the child may need to help address underlying health and physiological issues. Many parents, even when they've arrived at Doman International, have already heard about the gut-brain connection, right? The connection between our brain and our digestive tract. Many people aren't aware that our digestive tract has 500 million brain cells, 500 million neurons in our digestive tract that are constantly communicating between our gut and our brain. There's a reason why there's that old saying, I made that decision with my gut, right? Because the gut is constantly communicating and connected to our brain. And so what a child with neurodevelopmental issues, what they eat has a great impact on the way their brain functions. Their microbiome, meaning the bacteria and flora in their digestive tract, can have positive or very negative implications on their function. And so the first component of the Doman method is nutrition and supplementation, because we find that when we give that child an ideal diet and great supplementation, we start to see progress in all kinds of areas: focus, attention, behavior, comprehension, sometimes speech, sometimes seizures. It can really provide amazing results. The second component, I'm going to go in kind of clockwise fashion here. The second component is sensory stimulation. There are only 5 ways a child can learn from the world, right? They can see, they can hear, they can feel, they can taste, they can smell. Those are the 5 ways humans can learn from the world around them. The problem is many children with brain injuries, with neurological issues, have barriers to their ability to learn through their sensory pathways. Maybe they don't see well, maybe they don't hear well, maybe they don't feel well. And so when we do sensory stimulation, we can help improve those areas of the brain responsible for seeing, hearing, feeling. And the child's learning capabilities can improve, their comprehension can get better. And often when their hearing improves, we see improvements in their speech as well. The third component is mobility development, right? Getting a child to move better. Now, typically when children arrive at Doman International, they fall into one of 2 categories. Category 1 are children who cannot walk yet. Category number 2 are children who can walk. So let's talk about children who cannot walk. If a child's unable to walk yet, we design a mobility program to get that child mobile and moving and on the pathway to walking, right? Douglas Doman, the founder of Doman International, even wrote a book called From Immobility to Walking, which, as far as I know, is the only book on earth that talks about how to bring a child from being immobile to walking on their own. So for children who are unable to walk, Doman International really is a leader in this area. And it all started with my grandfather, Glenn Doman, who was a physical therapist and really devoted his life to figuring out how to help children learn to walk. Now, let's talk for a second about the children who are already able to walk when they arrive at Doman International. Sometimes parents will say to me, oh, Spencer, my child walks and runs. Mobility isn't an issue. We don't think we have to really focus on that area. And that's a understandable assumption to make. The thing is that's not so obvious. There are many mobility activities and treatments that help drive comprehension and sensory development for children. So there are certain physical activities that we've learned that can help, for example, focus and attention, or that can help improve learning ability, like improve reading or math ability. A lot of mobility activities help improve breathing and respiration, which is essential for speech development. So even if you feel your child is quite advanced in mobility, there are probably some activities, mobility exercises, that would provide amazing results for your child in these other areas. Next, we have cognition and speech. The Doman method is probably most famous for our cognitive programs. Our early reading program is famous around the world, has been for decades. Early math program. We are, as far as I know, the only organization in the world that has, 3-year-olds with Down syndrome who read. I think probably the only method in the world also that has children, for example, with Down syndrome who are thought to have major learning challenges, who have children with Down syndrome who have graduated with master's degrees from university, something that would be just considered impossible in most of the world. So Doman method is probably most famous for that, right? Our early reading, early math programs. And of course, we also have many speech development programs, because speech is one of the most common symptoms that children with special needs have. And so we've developed many speech development programs over the years to help with helping a child learn to talk and improve speech. Fifth, we've got oxygenation. Oxygenation is really an area of the Doman method, which is completely unique, something you don't find in treatment with people with brain injuries, even though there is a lot of research that demonstrates its incredible importance to brain function. Oxygenation, these respiratory programs are focused on improving oxygen delivery to the brain. Oxygen is the food of the brain, right? The brain needs oxygen to survive and function properly. One example of this is if a human doesn't eat or drink, they could survive possibly for weeks without food or water. But if we were to suck oxygen out of a room, a human would be able to survive 4 minutes at the most. So oxygen is the food of the brain. And so we have specific programs that are focused on delivering more oxygen to the brain. When we do that, we see better function, better focus and concentration, better speech development. For many children who have seizures and epilepsy, reduced seizures, or sometimes we can even prevent seizures entirely. Many people don't realize that when a seizure occurs in the brain, this has been shown by brain imaging, blood and oxygen is rushed to the region of the brain where the seizure occurs. And so when we provide additional oxygenation to the brain, very often that need for the seizure goes away, and we can really help children with seizure disorders. Last but not least, we have social development, right? Which is all about really getting a child ready for school and life. How do we help a child become independent, mature, capable? Very, very important. I was sent a video today by mom, and she was showing me her child, who I think is around 7 years old, and she's kind of dressing and undressing for the first time in her life. She's playing with Legos, this girl is for the first time in her life really developing independence. And of course, mom is so proud. And she told me, I never thought that this would ever happen, in my child's life. And that is incredibly impactful. A child needs to be able to not just speak and learn. All of that is very important, but they have to be able to interact with others. They have to be able to live independently so that they can continue to grow and succeed on their own. So these are the 6 different components of the Doman method. Each one is essential. Most therapy centers might focus on one of these areas, but you'll almost never find to my knowledge, an organization that focuses on all 6. And that's why we get great results, by the way. It's because we do all of these things with a child. When you tackle a problem from every single approach, you're much more likely to get impressive results. So speaking of results, the next natural question from parents are, well, okay, what are the results then of the treatment program? What happens to children when they're on the Doman International treatment? So I actually want to show you the results. These are the results of hundreds of children on the Doman International program with special needs. And these are the results of children who are on the program for at least 6 months. And I want to show you the statistics of achievement with these children. Now, I won't have the time to go through each of these numbers, but by the way, you're welcome to take a photo of this slide if you'd like to refer to it later or show a spouse or family member. But these are some of the most major achievements that children achieve on our program. So let me start in the top left-hand corner and talk about what these statistics mean. So you can see the first statistic is seeing. This is really important for families who might have children with a cortical blindness or cortical visual impairment diagnosis, or parents whose children don't see well. 89% of children who began the Doman International program functionally blind began to see after we did our visual stimulation program with the child. Now, keep in mind, these are children who are blind not because of a problem of their eye structure. These are children who have a brain injury that has led to a visual problem. And so with our visual stimulation program, we are able to actually help the visual cortex, the part of the brain for vision, improve and greatly enhance a child's vision. By the way, for a child to be included in that 89%, they don't just have to be able to see, recognize their parents, smile to a smile. They have to do all those things. They also have to differentiate pictures. So it means the child can see a picture of an elephant and they know that's an elephant, or they see a picture of a giraffe, they know it's a giraffe. For a child to be included in that statistic, they need to have to do that. The next statistic, which is so high, it might be shocking to people. I almost hesitate to put it in here because it's so shocking. 97% of children who were unable to read when they began our program learned to read. This is our most impressive statistic, probably why the Doman Method reading program is so famous. It's been used by over 5 million parents around the world to teach their children to read at home. For a child to be included in that statistic, they have to demonstrate an ability to read words. So they have to, look at the word banana and be able to read it. Look at the word dad or mom or their name. They have to be able to read words. And they also have to show that when they are tested by a staff member. So it is quite a high bar that they have to clear. And so the reading program is one of the most effective parts of the Doman Method. Now I'm going to skip all the way over to the right and talk a little bit about walking. Because for parents whose children don't walk, this is obviously a major concern for parents. 54% of children who are unable to walk began to walk on the Doman International program. So, these are children who most likely started unable to move at all. 54% of them learned to walk. And for us to include a child in that statistic, it doesn't mean they just took their first steps. There are children who took their first steps who are not included in that statistic. A child has to be able to stand up on their own and walk all around their house and outside independently to be considered for that 54%. That's our criteria for putting a child in that statistic. All right, let's go to the bottom left-hand corner. Here we have comprehension. By the way, again, for anyone who's joining this late, you're welcome to take a photo of this slide. You're actually welcome to take photos of any slide in this presentation. 87% of children who couldn't understand sentences. It means if you told them a simple instruction like pick up your toys or, come here, or they couldn't understand it. 87% of children began to comprehend and follow instructions. For a child to be included in this statistic, they have to follow two-step instructions at least. So that means you can tell the child, get the ball and hand it to your brother. 2 steps, and the child can do that. Next, we have speech. Of children who are unable to talk, 59% began to speak. By the way, this 59% of children aren't just children who said their first words. These are children who said their first words and also started to put words together in word pairs and speak. So, for example, hi, mom, or come here, they're putting words together. So saying a word isn't enough to get you in that 59%. You have to be able to say words and couplets. And then last but not least, I'll talk about writing. 48% of children who are unable to write learn to write on the program. Writing is one of the most challenging things for kids with special needs to learn how to do because you have to read well, you have to have great fine motor skills, you need the vision to do it. But nonetheless, 48% of children learn to write on the program. So there are the statistics. As I said, there are other statistics there. You can take a photo, share that with anyone you want to, but those are the results of Doman International's treatment. I want to say one important thing here. We are one of the few organizations in the world that publishes the results of treatment with children. Most, therapy centers, if you call up and you say to them, what percentage of children learned to walk with your physical therapy? They will have absolutely no answer for you. They'll probably honestly be shocked by the question because no one's ever asked them that before. And they don't even keep those statistics. It's not even thought of. And sadly, it's not really thought of because probably they aren't impressive statistics. No one there wants to keep those statistics. So this is a tradition that was started by my grandfather. He said, no, we've got to report on our results. We've got to keep improving our results. It's not, we can't just rest on our laurels. Like we've got to tell people how we're doing and keep improving. So that's the reason why we do that. Well, the next common question is, what makes Doman International unique? What makes us different? We live in an internet age where before the internet, in many ways, parents had no answers about their children with special needs. They had whatever was in their local town was their only option. Now, in the internet age, parents have the opposite issue. There are too many answers. There are all these kind of fad treatments, fad, diets popping up, fad therapies, fad intensives that are constantly popping up. You kind of hear, I've been doing this now for 17 years. I'll hear about, the exciting new thing. And then 6 months later, no one ever talks about it anymore. It comes and it goes because it doesn't provide results. That's why it disappears, right? Parents won't do something if it doesn't provide results. The reason why the Doman Method has been around for 70 years is not because we're the best funded organization in the world. We don't have the best, facilities, or, we have, we've been around for 70 years because parents tell other parents about the Doman Method because it gets results. That's the only reason why. You can't survive for 70 years in this field unless you're helping kids get better. And so what makes Doman International unique? What is it that separates us from the millions of other options out there that parents are constantly being told to do? Well, the first thing is, for over 60 years, the Doman Method has helped thousands of special needs children learn to walk, talk, and succeed in school and life. And that's what I meant when I said it's getting results. If you can get immobile children walking, if you can get children who can't talk talking, if you can help a child who couldn't read or write or do math to save their life, if you can help them get A's in school, if you can help children go on to get advanced degrees, get jobs, live independently. That's what the Doman Method has been focused on for the last 60 years. And that makes us unique. You learn a lot in 60 years. One of the things my grandfather used to say to me and to parents, I'll repeat it now, is he said, when you've been around for as long as the Doman Method has, you don't just learn what works with kids, you learn what doesn't work with kids. You learn all the different treatments and activities that are a waste of time. And, on social media, I'll see videos of, some, new therapy pop up on my Instagram feed. And I'm like, oh man, we tried that 15 years ago. That doesn't work. It's not that the idea behind some of these treatments is bad. Like, these are people who are really trying to help kids. But it's like, when you've had 3 generations and 70 years of experience, you get the help of knowing what doesn't work. There are even times where I would go to my parents, or I'd go to, grandparents or some of the staff that I learned from, and I would say, oh, what about this idea? Like, why don't we try this? And they'd say, Spencer, we tried that 20 years ago. We did that with 1,000 kids. It didn't help any kids, I said, okay, good. You saved me time. I didn't spend years going down a dead end that didn't work. That's what Doman International helps provide parents, right? Here are the things that work. Here are the things not to waste your time with. You'll learn a lot over 70 years. The next thing that makes Doman International unique is, no matter what anyone tells you, and I mean anyone, doctor, therapist, teacher, mother-in-law, doesn't matter. No matter what anyone tells you, we know your special needs child has a great potential and an innate intelligence. When I say innate intelligence, I mean a true intelligence within the child. They may not be able to express it yet, but it's there. We help you, the parents, discover that innate intelligence and great potential. And One of my favorite things is when parents see for the first time what their child is capable of. Uh, yeah, actually, right before I started this presentation, right now I'm in the clinic in Doman International. I was just walking through the hallway. One of the families who's here for an evaluation grabbed me in the hallway and they went, Spencer, we just brought the child's being evaluated. They said, our child, who's a teenager, just hopped on her foot for the first time across a room. We didn't even know she was capable of that, and she just did that for us when she was asked to do it in the evaluation. When, over the last decades, we've learned how to stimulate children to get them to develop better, but we've also learned how to evaluate them, how to ask the child, speak to the child, interact with the child, so that they can demonstrate and express to us their innate intelligence. So important for that child and for the family. And by the way, when the family knows how smart their child is, when they know when their child's truly capable of what their potential is, the way the family and that child interacts completely changes. And the parents really, for the first time, get to know who their true child is. That means a lot. The last thing is our team will work hand in hand with you to provide solutions for your child. It's a partnership with Doman International. Like, we're learning about your child from you, and then we're teaching you what your child needs to get to the next level of development. So we work together. What seems impossible to others is possible with us, and we'll support you every step of the way, right? We don't just hand you a piece of paper and say, here's the therapies to do, see you later, come back in 6 months. No, we support you along the way. When you hit obstacles, our coaches coach you through it, because we know life's going to happen. You can't control everything. You're working with a child. Children have their own unique personalities. And so you have to know how to coach your child through that. And that's what our staff is for. Well, let's now get to the question that you all came here to learn about. It's the name of the webinar. Is the Doman Method right for your family? Well, can you answer yes to these 3 questions, right? And if the answer is yes to these 3 questions, yeah, I think the Doman Method is right for your family. Some of you may not have picked up on this. I called this webinar, Is the Doman Method right for your family? Not Is the Doman Method right for your child? Because I believe strongly, given my experience, the Doman Method is right for your child. That's why I think you're here. But the Doman Method is something that requires family support. This isn't a center where you just kind of drop your child off and leave. It requires the family and our staff to work together. And so the real question is it right for your entire family? So can you answer yes to these 3 questions? Number 1, are you looking for a holistic, drug-free approach to address all of your child's developmental problems? A holistic, drug-free approach to address all of your child's developmental problems. My guess is if you've found your way into this webinar, probably the answer to that one is yes. Second, are you open to giving the time and effort to learn about the Doman Method from our team of coaches? We are going to have to teach you, right? There's no one more important in the life of a child than their parents, right? Parents and the family know the child better than anyone else, spend the most amount of time with the child. So that really means we have to teach you what to do with the child at home. So are you open to giving the time and effort to learn about it? And that is an important question that a family needs to decide. Last but not least, are you willing to give at least 1 hour of your time daily, but even ideally up to 3 hours a day, to do our recommended treatments for your child? When I say 1 hour a day, I don't necessarily mean it has to be one continuous hour. It could be 2 sessions of 30 minutes or 4 sessions of 15 minutes. Right? When I say 3 hours, again, I don't mean 3 continuous hours that could be broken up into different sessions throughout the day. But would you be willing to give that time to implement the Doman Method with your child and see real results from your efforts? Consistency is key to getting results with the Doman Method. And so that's why we're saying, can you give at least 1 hour a day? If you can give more than that, great, but at least 1 hour in a day. Now, let's talk about when the Doman method may not be right for a family. Sometimes a family comes around and we talk to the family, it's just clear it's not right for them. So the first is if a family is looking for a magic pill to fix all problems overnight. Uh, so first of all, the Doman method isn't a magic pill. It is something that requires consistency, requires time and effort. And so it's not a magic pill. And now I'm also sad to say, as far as we know, for the very real problems that children with developmental delays and special needs have, there is no magic pill. If there was a magic pill, we'd be giving it out to you. But it doesn't exist yet. And so in our experience, the Doman method is the next best option, which is available. Okay. The next thing is when parents aren't able to give the time or they're not able to organize helpers to do the Doman method with their child, right? Sometimes a parent will just say, we just don't have time to do this program. And then we'll say, oh, if you can't give any time, can you organize maybe helpers to do the program? And they'll say, no, not possible for us. Listen, if there's no one in the family who could give time and there aren't, no one is there to help out with the program, unfortunately, this is something that requires effort and time. Like I said, at least 1 hour a day. So if you or someone else isn't able to do that, unfortunately, the Doman method, at least right now, is not an option. Last but not least, when parents want to just outsource all treatment to professionals. Once in a while, I'll have a kind of dad, show up at our clinic and maybe he's a rich CEO type and he'll say, Spencer, we don't have the time for all this, like this Doman method stuff. Listen, you tell me how much money to write on a check and you come and do the program with my child. Like, I'll pay whatever it takes, something like that. And we'll say, listen, like, first of all, we want to help as many children as possible. That's why we work with families, so we can help hundreds, thousands of children rather than just one child. But the thing is, we need families to be involved, right? It's essential. Like I said, there's no one who loves a child, who's more dedicated to a child, who has more time for a child than their family. The family has to be involved. And so if a family just wants to outsource everything, the Doman method isn't going to work. Okay. It is something, as I said, that requires time and effort. Well, I want to get to the last point here, which is what is Doman International's recommended path for my family? And then I'm going to go to questions from all of you. So whether you're joining me right now in the webinar, on social media, go ahead and start typing your questions into the comments box and I will get to them in order. So let's talk about what's my recommended path for your family. Here you can see an image which is called the Doman International Process, your child's journey to wellness, and it outlines the 4 steps from beginning to end of the Doman method. And I just want to kind of bring you through this right now. So you can see the red arrows below step 1, which is called the Doman Method course. And step 1, I'll read it there. We teach you to enhance your child's brain development with the Doman method to maximize your child's developmental wins. You launch your child's first Doman method program and prepare for the advanced Doman program. So the Doman method course is an online course. It's the first step to learn about the Doman method, where we teach families the Doman method program that they can start at home with their child. In fact, we guarantee to families that when you're done with the program, you will have a written, completed treatment plan that you can begin with your child right away. In fact, many parents even start the Doman method treatments while they're taking the course. It's very common at the end of the course when we ask parents for feedback, like, how was this course for you? They'll write or they'll tell us, oh, the first week of the course, we started this activity with the child and our child is already doing these new things, which is amazing. The Doman method course used to be live. Now it is online. It's available in 6 different languages. Parents take it from around the world. And we put it online so that parents all around the world could access it. And I think I've got a short video here about the Doman Method course. Hopefully you can hear it. I'll just play it now. It's about 40 seconds long.
The Doman Method online course is the first comprehensive online course ever created for families of children with special needs. The course is designed to teach parents integrative treatments that will help their children develop in the best possible way. It is taught by the world's leading experts in the Doman Method. Created by Glenn Doman over 60 years ago, the Doman Method has helped tens of thousands of children with special needs.
Okay, so you're looking for, first of all, does the child hear the sound? Second of all, can the child locate the sound?
This 4-week online course is designed to empower parents to help their children. During the course, parents access 25 hours of lectures about the Doman Method and child development, as well as hours of live question and answer video conferences with Doman International's coaches. Now, every parent worldwide can access knowledge at their fingertips, which before was impossible. The Doman Method course online, empowering parents to transform children.
Okay, everyone, unfortunately, because I have my slides up in front of me, I didn't realize that, as I've been advancing through the slides, you haven't been able to see what I've been showing. I really, really apologize. What a shame. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Let me see if I can pull up my presentation. Yeah, as I said at the beginning, this is a new platform. Colleen, I've pulled you up so that I can hear you.
Yeah, for sure.
If you don't mind, if I keep advancing through the slides and it's not moving along, just let me know.
Okay, you got it.
Can you see the Doman International process in front of you right now?
So what I see is that, but superimposed on that is a little box that says share presentation, share slideshow window. Sorry, my glasses. So if you're not seeing share slideshow window, there's our problem.
Okay. All right.
Oh, there we go. So I see the process now. I still see the frame around it. Do you know what I mean? So that you get the slides on the side. It's not filling the screen.
All right. What a shame. All right.
Can we share the slideshow with the families afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Terrific.
Yeah, for sure.
Then you can read through.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so here I'll just remove this for now, so that way it's not a distraction. As I was saying, the Doman Method course is a 4-week online course that parents can take to learn more about the Doman Method at home. So I have Colleen here, who's our director of representatives. She's the first person to speak to parents when they are learning about the program for the first time. So Colleen, anything you want to add about the course that I didn't mention?
I think the main thing, I know that many families ask, in fact, just this morning I spoke with a mother who asked about the time involved in the course, the time involved with the program, of course, and I know we have a few questions about that, and I know you'll address that. I do want to reassure parents, as a mother myself, that much like we grow with our children and their needs become an organic part of our day-to-day, you can work this program into your day-to-day on a gradual basis. I think it can feel very daunting at the outset. The same goes for the course. If you budget, in your head, if you budget an hour a day to the course during that 5-week period, you will have more than enough time to finish the lectures, get the guidance from your staff coach, and you will graduate that course with a plan for your child. So, try not to be too concerned, too intimidated. I know it feels like a lot, but it isn't overnight. So, if somebody had told you when you were just about to give birth that you were going to be handling all the things you handle now, you would have said, "Oh, there's no way. I couldn't do that." But you grow into it and you do it because you do it. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I see that we've had a lot of questions come in. So maybe we can start addressing some of these questions. So, I see a question here from Aparajita who says, "My daughter has Down syndrome and she's already 6 years old. Will this program help her?" Absolutely. Aparajita, actually, many people, when they think of our program, they think of the program being used for tiny children. The average age of children on our program is around 8 years old. So we have children of all ages and even adults. Even today in our clinic, we have I think a 32-year-old adult who's here for developmental challenges. So we see children, we see adults, because the brain's ability to change, which is called neuroplasticity, exists throughout our lifetimes. And so the Doman method can be used with children or adults of different ages. My grandfather, Glenn Doman, actually began his work with adults first, with people who had strokes, which are brain injuries, and he started with adults, and then later he started working with children because he realized, well, I can really work with parents and get the best results imaginable, and let's help children when they're as young as possible. But yeah, children can be helped at any age. Colleen, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I do see that Aparajita wrote later on that she wishes she had started earlier when her daughter didn't have school in order to be able to invest more time in the program. And that's understandable, of course, but it's not a barrier. We have plenty of kids who are in school. I mean, we work with families all over the world. In some places, school is compulsory. You cannot homeschool legally. So, regardless of how severely delayed or challenged your child is, they have to go to school every day. So, we just work around it. It's okay.
Yeah. 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 And as I said before, even if you're able to give 1 hour a day, you can get started with the program and get really, wonderful results. Okay. Let's see. We've got a question here from Emma who says, "What factors could affect the effectiveness of the method on the child, like age, time, child's joint, attention?" So, certainly, Emma, the more time you're able to give, and the more consistent the program is, it can provide better results. Similar, the brain is an organ that when you do the treatment with consistency, meaning with frequency and, doing it, more intensively, it can get better results. Similar to if I wanted to, build my biceps, the more repetitions of weights that I lifted, I could build my biceps faster. The more weights I lift, the heavier the weight, the more often I do it. But that being said, if I do any exercise, it's going to be beneficial for me. And so, yeah, so I would say in the beginning, just try to focus on getting started. Try to start consistently with an intensity level that's possible for your family, and then you can build from there. One of the things that we find is that when a family is successful with the program, meaning the child is getting results, they're more and more motivated to keep going, right? So success creates motivation, and so that if you get started and you start to see the results, you'll be motivated to keep going, and if possible, continue to build the intensity of the program. Okay. Anything you'd like to add to that, Colleen?
No, I think that's exactly right. And again, the older I get and the more experience I've had with this program, the more I think the parallels to how we grow with our children are really what we need to hang on to. You know, when you bring that baby home from the hospital and you start doing all of the things that that baby needs, it just it just becomes second nature. And then as they grow and they need other things, it just becomes second nature. But thank goodness it's not all dumped on us. You know, you don't have the needs of a 2-year-old when you have an infant. Well, unless you've got a 2-year-old and an infant, but then you grow into that too. It's like, okay, somehow we manage all of it. And if you think about it that way, that it's you just do a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, but as you gradually go on, as you said, Spencer, the the successes start to feel really motivating, and you say, yeah, we're gonna do a little more. Why not? We can manage. So.
Exactly. Okay, I'm just seeing some comments that have come in on Instagram. So Katya wrote, "My daughter is reading in 2 months of this really amazing program." Thank you, Katya. That's really, really special.
Amazing.
Let's see. Thank you to everyone who was telling me about the slides. Okay. Yeah, Annabella, who's already started our program, said work consistently. Each family can work at the root of the cause. That's the key to unimaginable changes. Thank you, Annabella. Abby is asking, is the Doman course available in Arabic? Yes, it is, Abby. So if you shoot us a message on our, you're joining us on Instagram. If you send us a private message on Instagram, we can help get you access to the Arabic course. And there's a wonderful organization called, wonderful company called Cummins that actually gave us a grant to translate the Doman Method course into Arabic. And for that reason, basically they've subsidized the course for Arabic speakers. So, which is amazingly generous. So Abby, if you reach out to us, we can get you access to it. All right, let's see.
Spencer, did you see the question from Sukamani? She said, not sure if you'll be covering this later, but I would like to know where and how do you start helping an autistic child, as my little one has very limited language understanding, is hyperactive, and is just not interested. Thanks. And we spoke this morning, Sukamani and I, so I saw her question come in.
Got it. Thank you. Because I actually don't see that question.
Okay.
So the question is, so the child has an autism diagnosis, you said?
Yeah, she's not diagnosed yet. They live in the UK, so the process is very long, but
Right.
she does not seem to understand much and has no language.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hyperactive as well.
Yeah. So, to those symptoms that were just mentioned, issues with comprehension, issues with speech, issues with hyperactivity are some of the most common symptoms that we see in children, at Doman International. And, as I said earlier in the presentation, all of them are symptoms of a neurodevelopmental condition. And, meaning the root cause is in brain development. And they can absolutely be helped with the Doman method. And for us, I know that diagnosis can take a long time, right? Like something like, many parents will reach out to me and say, will my child be diagnosed with autism or not? And for us at Doman International, it's actually much more important to understand what are the symptoms that the child is dealing with. Because once we understand, okay, this child has a comprehension, speech issue, hyperactivity, we then know, okay, here are the different treatments that are necessary to help address those areas of the brain that are creating that problem. And we begin those treatments with the child. And of course, if we address the root cause, the symptoms start to go away. So even if you haven't received an official diagnosis yet, by the way, we see many children who have not received diagnoses, but parents innately know there's something developmentally that isn't right. Those families can absolutely get started with the program and start to see really good results with the program. Anything you want to add to that, Colleen?
No, I think that's, we had another question about, does the system work for kids with autism who are nonverbal? So, obviously what you just said, yes, exactly. And Sukamani and I spoke this morning about how the diagnoses it's hard because when you realize your child is having a problem, you think, if I can just get somebody to give it a name, then they'll tell me what to do about it. But then I think so many parents get trapped in the system of, well, we have a name for it now, but the treatments that they're recommending aren't helping my child, you know?
Right.
And so many parents have said to me, once I had the information from the Doman Method, and once I put some things in place, the other treatments or therapies that we were already doing because we were in the services or whatever, they started to make a difference. But before, we had been doing them for years with next to no improvement at all. And it's because we finally addressed the areas of the brain that were not getting the stimulation they needed. So now everything can start to click. But until that time, you can get on a kind of rabbit, or what's the word, like a hamster wheel of, oh, now we have the diagnosis, do these services. Oh, that's not working for my kid. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, what you said is so spot on, because I think a lot of parents feel kind of strung along because they go through this whole process of getting a diagnosis, and when they get the diagnosis, they're just kind of told, well, keep doing what you're doing. And it's like, well, why did we just go through all that? Why did we do these long hosts of MRIs and EEGs and tests just to be told there's nothing different that we can do and we're hopeless? Now, I'm not saying that those tests are sometimes useful. They can be, but for a lot of the time, parents are just told, well, here's your child's diagnosis, and then here are all the things your child will never do. And it's the least helpful and most hopeless position you could put a parent in. And they're not hopeless cases. Parents just have to know the right things to do. I also prefer to use the term pre-verbal rather than non-verbal, because pre-verbal means they just haven't started speaking yet. It's the assumption they're going to start talking. Okay, let's see. I want to see, Colleen, if I missed any other questions here.
So I see from Charmaine, so you're highlighting Emma's.
Yeah,
Just
do you
above
mind
that,
if I answer this? This is actually a good question.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, is the program designed for a specific child's demand, or is there only just one program for all kids? And I think that also this is a common question we get, not just about the Doman Method as a whole, but about the Doman Method course. Some parents are like, I don't want just like a cookie cutter, like, hey, everyone, do this list of things and, give it a try. So, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, the Doman Method actually has at least 400 different treatments and activities that we use. 400. Now, we don't do 400 with every child. When we see a child, when a family comes to us, it's actually more about saying, okay, what are the 5 to 10 of those 400 that this child needs? Like, what are this child's biggest problems? Is it speech? Is it comprehension? Is it seizures? Is it, digestion? Whatever it is. And we say, okay, what are the 5 to 10 things this child needs to help fix these issues? So the 400 different treatments are our toolbox, but most parents don't learn about the 390 that their child doesn't need. So absolutely, Emma, it's completely personalized. That's really the point of our program is customization. Good, really good question.
Yeah.
What was the one that you mentioned, Colleen?
Charmaine said, should you stop other therapies and just focus on the Doman program?
Yeah. So, Charmaine, I don't tell a parent when they come to us for the first time, I don't tell a family to stop anything that they truly see and believe is helping their child. Because if a family comes to me and they say, Spencer, we've started these treatments and our kid has started doing this, this, and this from them, and I can see the results, I'm not going to tell that family you have to stop that, if the child. Now, I do have to say the vast majority of families that come to us, that's not the case. It's usually the opposite. They say, we've been doing this for 3-4 years and there's nothing's happening, and so most of the time families are looking for something new and different and are kind of happy to start focusing on the Doman Method. But if something's working for your child, yeah, we won't tell you to stop it. when you've learned about the program, at that point, you really have, you can look at how your child's day and week is structured and decide, what you're going to do when, right? We'll never order you or tell you what you have to do. That you're the parent, you should make the decision for your child. You know what's best for your kid. So for example, there was one family that came to our clinic back in July, and I did a call with them last week. And at that visit, when they came for their first visit at our clinic, they were doing a whole host of therapies. And they had told me, these things aren't really working. We're going to drop these other things. We're not sure. We're going to keep going. And I said, okay. Like you think you do what you think is best. And then when I had the call with them last week, they told me, Spencer, we've dropped the therapies because like the program is working so well. We just want to do what's successful for a child. We don't need to continue these other things. And I said, great. So once you start to see the program providing results, that might change the calculation as well. But yeah, you don't have to promise us anything. You don't need to tell, there's none of that. You decide what your child's life and schedule is. We'll just tell you in our experience what's going to get the best results. All right.
Spencer, I can remember Glenn mentioning in lectures that a lot of what he taught parents resonated with them because they said these things make sense in our gut, right? As you were talking about earlier, they
Right.
make sense to us because it fits with what we've seen as our children are growing, and we as parents we have a feel like we get a feeling that this is the right way. And so I've always thought that that's something that we can help parents with, is kind of reconnecting with that gut instinct to say, yeah, you really are right. You have a good sense, and the information that we teach you, you can then take and apply in the way that's going to suit your family the best, but ultimately parents are the ones in the driver's seat, and I feel like we can help put them back there. It's like, yeah, you were always driving the machine, or driving the car.
Yeah. And to that intuitive aspect, the very often when we're teaching families, I think a lot of parents are nervous or insecure that they're going to be able to actually learn the Doman Method programs. They don't have confidence in themselves that they're going to be able to do it. And actually, when we sit down with families and teach them the different parts of the Doman Method that are going to be helpful for their child, a lot of the families will say things like, I get it, and it's so simple. Like, it's kind of like when you learn a truth in life, most of the time truths aren't complex. It's like, oh man, like I've always intuitively known that. If someone had just told it to me that way 10 years ago, I would have understood it, but no one told me that. And so that's the response that I think most parents have when they hear about the program. They're like, got it. That makes sense. I get why my kid needs that activity. I know I can do it. Yeah. Great point. Let's see. I'm just looking one last time to see if I've missed any questions. Anything else, Colleen, that you'd like to say about, about the Doman Method course or Doman International?
Well, I would like to mention to the parents that and this is my whole life has been connected with the Doman Method because my parents took a course with Glenn Doman when I was 4 years old. They took a course for well kids. They wanted to teach us to read and do music, play music and all of that. But they realized after they took that course that my sister had some delays that they had been explaining away. So, that's my background. But I don't know of any, and of course I'm a mother and I've raised my daughter with the Doman Method. I don't know of any other approach to parenting out there that's more effective than this. to have a full understanding of your child's development so that you can affect it positively, in all the ways that your kid needs right now, as well as all the ways that they might need as they grow. If you're alive to that and you have that information, you can give them what they need and trust your gut, but also have the real information that you need for them. So I think that's something to really keep in mind. And the other thing is that taking our course is really the fastest way to get all of that information in one place, organized and ready to go. And we have a guarantee. So, we know that it is not an inexpensive course for families. It's $995. But if, when you graduate the course, you will have a full plan for your child that you've worked out with your staff coach to help you, and you're ready to go. It's a full foundation. We really don't hold anything back in the course. There's always more information that we can give you later on, but in terms of getting started, you will have everything that you need. And if you don't have everything you need, then we'll refund you. So I think that this is something to keep in mind too. Just make that leap, because we'll make it with you. That's what we want for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And to Colleen's point, if you take the course and we don't, fulfill that guarantee, we'll just refund you your money back. And 99% of families or more, finish the course completely satisfied. And Colleen, to that point, Emma asks a question here, like, how can we get those specific tools for our child? Should I bring him to your clinic for evaluation? I'll let you, of course, talk about this, Colleen. But I would recommend, I was going to show this on my last slide that I wasn't able to pull up, but the best thing for everyone to do as a next step is to get on a call with Colleen, because Colleen can kind of talk you through what the course is like, what it's like to take the online course. She can, and also if, like Emma, you have questions about coming for an appointment at Doman International, she can also answer those questions as well. But Colleen, what would you like to say about, taking the course, appointments?
So to actually, Emma and I have gotten to speak, but I'm so glad that she's here, because this is, it's really good to hear it from you too. And, there's so much information. It's like, oh, wait, I should do this, I should do that. So the course was designed. We know that coming for an appointment is not practical for every family. So, coming for an appointment is fantastic. We welcome everybody. We definitely, if you want more information about that, even schedules and things like that, we do schedule well in advance. But you could get started immediately. As you plan for your appointment, we can begin coaching you. You would watch the lectures and, really get to know the Doman Method before you come to see us. So we would, for sure, we're always open to that. We'd love to see families, and you get a fully customized, designed program through that appointment, and then 6 months of continuous follow-up from your staff coach, so that you're always going in the right direction. But the course is also, all of our families take the course as part of their appointment anyway. If you call me up and say, we're definitely ready to schedule this appointment, I say, great, we're going to take the course too. You're going to have that information. And then when you arrive to see us, we'll all be on the same page together, which is great. But for families who say, look, the appointment is not in our, possibility at this moment, maybe in the future, the course doesn't hold anything back. You will have a full foundation, and you will get, with your staff coach to help you, you'll get that, that plan for your child. So the 10, 5 to 10 activities or whatever, you're going to learn about all of those so that you can implement them in the way that makes sense for you and for your kid.
And Colleen, when does the next course start?
The next course begins on November 4th, and the deadline for enrollment is October, I want to say 20, it's coming up real soon, like 24th or something like that. Mm-hmm. Because we always close registration a week before the course, because we have our own preparations to do it as well. So I would highly recommend registering ASAP because it's filling up too. We're probably going to be full by the end of this week, honestly. So.
Okay, we've got a question here from Charmaine who says, is the course per child? So Charmaine, if I understand your question correctly, it's per family. So for example, if there's a family who has like 2 children with developmental issues, which is increasingly common, we have a number of families on our program who have multiple children. The course, the Doman Method course, is a payment per family, and that's also good because it allows families who have different members of the family who want to take the course to also participate. So it can be not just parents participate, but if you have an aunt or uncle who want to be involved, or a grandparent or a helper, they could enroll in the family as well.
Yeah. So everybody who is working with your child, or, who's going to be helping you out, they can all attend the course with you without paying tuitions for everybody.
Yeah. Charmaine says, I have 3 children. Yeah. God bless you, Charmaine. Yeah. I remember once, one mother took our course, and I think that she had adopted 8 children with special needs, and I think and started the program with them. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're very, very welcome. Okay, yeah. So I'm putting up on the screen, everyone. The next course begins November 4th, but as Colleen says, enrollment is closing earlier than that. So just make sure to contact Colleen with more questions.
Yeah, I don't want to please don't make me get calls on November 1st and saying, oh, can I get into the course? Because our next one isn't until February, and it'll break my heart. So
Yeah. And the reason why we limit numbers, everyone, is, every family who takes a course is assigned a staff coach, the person who's there to answer their questions. But for us to provide really good service, each staff coach can only take on a certain number of families. So that's why we limit the number.
I will say too, you don't have to pay the whole tuition immediately. We can do a payment plan. So again, just let me know, get in touch with me, please, and we can talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Charmaine, the program itself and what the course provides, it's the same regardless of the child's diagnosis, age. Yeah, it's not like if a child is diagnosed with autism, we only provide a program that lasts 1 month and another. No, yeah, every child gets the same help. Every family gets the same help.
I think it's important to think of the Doman Method as a lifestyle. I don't want to put people off with that, but it really is. I mean, it's colored my entire life. The whole, just the information you have just begins to become a part of your day to day, so that it doesn't overwhelm, but you can move it into your life in a way. So, these kinds of ideas, I know some places say, oh, well, for 3 months, you're going to do this thing and it's going to be intense and you're going to finish it. That's not how children grow. So, so it's just a continuous, it's that tortoise and the hare. We're just every day, a little bit. Yeah.
That's right. That's how true change happens, right?
That's right. Yeah. Lasting change.
Yeah. All right, Colleen, could you just say your phone number so we can post that?
Yes, 814-232-8668.
Got it. And I'll put +1 in front of it just so for people outside of the US.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And so
incidentally, my computer wants to die, but if it does, I'm going to hop on the phone.
So. Okay, I think we're all done. So everyone, thanks so much for joining. Yeah, I see everyone basically joining on different platforms. Thanks so much for joining today. Sorry again for the for the technical issues, and I'll do my very best to make sure that the presentation is emailed out to all the attendees. Okay. All right, Colleen, thanks so much for
Thank
joining.
you. Thanks, everybody,
Right.
for joining us. It's been great.
Bye, everyone. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.